College has apologized to a black student who was racially profiled on campus. The student, Amu Kanute, was eating her lunch in her dormitory's common room on Tuesday when a campus employee called police reporting someone who, quote, seemed out of place. After an officer arrived on the scene and confronted her, Kanute began recording the episode, later posting it on Facebook with a statement that read in part, "All I did was be black." This is Amu Kanute speaking with CBS Boston.
It just still upsets me to just talk about it because I don't even feel safe on my own campus and I'm away from home. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm doing this not only for me, but for my family, for my ancestors.
In a statement, Smith College President Kathleen McCartney offered Kanute an apology, adding, "This painful incident reminds us of the ongoing legacy of racism and bias in which people of color are targeted while simply going about the business of their daily lives," unquote. Kanute demanded Smith release the name of the staffer who called police on her, but the college has so far refused. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is facing one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. Between 1998...
Hello? Okay, I am not racist.
I don't see color. But black on black crime. If we can't use the N-words, they shouldn't either.
Everyone makes judgments.
I have black friends. Whites were slaves too. Thugs. I just don't like ghetto. What about reverse racism? I'm not
Never
racist,
said that.
Whites are under attack and bullying and wrong. So whites are the superior race. This is God's will. Racism no longer exists. I don't see color. I don't see color.
I don't see color. I mean, I was raised to not see color. There's no reason to see it unless you're going to discriminate, right? I didn't even know the N-word until I was maybe 8 or so. I mean, I had heard my grandfather use it a couple of times, but I didn't know what it meant. And when I learned that it was a bad word, I felt weird when he would say it, but I mean, what are you gonna do? He's a product of his time, you know, when he grew up and where. Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, that's kind of a common term there, especially back then. Well, I am from Texas too, but I was born to the colorblind generation, right? I mean, we were all taught not to see color. We were taught that you see a person for the human being they are and not the color of their skin. How is that racist?
Texas, population, 25,145,561. Population demographics. White, 79%. Black or African American, 12%. Two or more races, 2%. Hispanic may be of any race, so also are included in applicable race categories. Hispanic or Latino, 38%. Non-Hispanic or Latino, 62%.
Well, when I was really young, there was this family that moved in across the street, and, well, the mom was white, but the dad and the kid were black. I guess I noticed that that was different. I actually remember thinking, oh, okay, black plus white equals black. Made sense to me. I mean, black is darker than white, so it's gonna cover it up, right? Like paint, kind of. I guess I did see color. I went to a school with a lot of kids that were not white. I was a very social child, and I got along with just about everybody, and I mean, I never classified my friends into racial categories, right? We were all just kids. But I did notice that some of them were less white than me. But, I mean, okay, of course you notice, right? It's a physical trait, like hair color or height. You don't make judgments based on that particular feature. Film, not the new musical. I was kind of disappointed in that. But no, the movie with Ricky Lake and Jerry Stiller and Sonny Bono and Divine. If you don't know who Divine is, you need to look her up. She pretty much set the stage for drag queens today. I love her. Hairspray, well, mama told me not to use it. But if I don't, I'm gonna lose it. Yeah. Definitely one of my favorite movies growing up. I think because I really liked to just dance along to it, you know? Oh, songs like mashed potatoes and gravy. Mashed potatoes. And then corn with gravy on. I thought that was genius. Yeah, I like this line. It's okay.
You're looking good, big strong,
Oh my god, this is my favorite! Wait for it. Squish! Squash! Roach! I don't know why every extermination company doesn't use that as a promo song. Oh yeah. They played this in the Black Dance Club? Okay. I know, this is really how they dance to it. Can you imagine my mom walking in on like 5-year-old me just... Okay, so there was a part that really bothered me. I mean, it was that the white kids could just go into the Black Dance Club. But the black kids were kicked out of the white dance hall before they even got in. I guess that movie introduced me to racial inequality. Throughout the film, they protest, segregation never, integration now, segregation never, integration now. I would chant along with it. I mean, I didn't know what it meant, but there was something about it that just felt urgent and powerful. Okay, another part of the movie that really stuck with me was when, Link and Tracy, two of the main characters, they are making out behind one of the dance halls, and Tracy says, "Oh God, I wish I were black. And Link says, Tracy, our souls are black even though our skin is white. That idea blew my mind. I mean, could that be real? Like, could my soul be black even though my skin was white? I really wanted it to be true. I asked my mom, is that possible? And she, I think, said, anything is possible. Really though, I mean, I must have never been colorblind because I knew I wasn't black because I wanted to be black. I mean, the way I saw it, black people, they could sing, they could dance, they could express themselves in these beautiful ways that were just socially unacceptable for me as a white person. I mean, have you ever been to a black church? It is a totally different experience. And black women, talk about fierce. I don't understand why white people feel that they need to restrict themselves in their expression. You know, black people are not afraid to be loud, to be real. God, we should all be louder, more real, take up more space. I wanted to dance like a fly girl on In Living Color. I wanted to sing like Aretha. I wanted to be black.
I'm not racist, but
I do refer to my ass as a minority magnet. I don't know what it is about my booty, but black guys and Mexican guys love it. I mean, you heard Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, right? I know you know what I'm talking about. That was actually the very first song I ever sang for karaoke because I figured I could just shake my ass to it and it'd be all right. Unfortunately, the guy who's gonna help me sing totally froze, and there was really no amount of booty shaking that was gonna save that disaster. But I mean, okay, those lyrics. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Other brothers? So it is a black thing, right? I mean, that's not racist, that's just an observation. Okay, it's a stereotype, but I mean, most of those are based on truth. Speaking of stereotypes, when I was in college, I started working at a Mexican restaurant. Now, you would think that working with Mexicans and for Mexicans would make me a little less racist, more tolerant. No. I bet I had more racist thoughts in my 2 years of working there than I have had in the rest of my life combined. Those customers were awful. They lived up to their stereotypes. They were demanding, rude, messy, cheap. Okay, now that I'm saying that out loud, it does kind of remind me of a lot of my customer experiences in the restaurant industry. But, okay, the men I worked with, they were the worst. They would just stare at me. They would stare, and they were looking at me like they were fucking me with their eyes. I mean, minority magnet, right? And then they would start speaking Spanish and laughing and making gestures. And of course, I didn't know what they were saying. I could only guess. No, never mind.
what about reverse racism?
All right. So back up to high school. I started dyeing my hair black. I mean, I was a drama kid and I was a really pale white girl, so it looked really cool to me, and I kept it that way for a while. Well, not so much in high school, but definitely when I got to college, and especially working at that Mexican restaurant. I was mistaken for Mexican a lot. I even had a table that decided to test whether I was Mexican or not. I was taking their order, and they asked me what kind of burritos we have. And I started to tell them, even though it was right there in their menu. We have ground beef, chicken, carne asada, barbacoa, right then they started laughing their asses off, and one of them goes, see, I told you, and they just kept laughing harder. I must have been looking at them with my what the fuck are you on face, because one of them finally turned to me and said, oh, well, we couldn't decide whether you were white or Mexican, so we wanted to hear you say barbacoa, and the way that you just said it, you're totally white. Barbacoa. Barbacoa! Yeah, listen to how white I say it. What about reverse racism?
I have black friends.
Okay, all right, so when I was in 3rd grade, my family moved from Lubbock, Texas to Gatesville, Texas. If you haven't heard of it, don't feel too bad. Its claim to fame is that it has Texas women's death row. Anyway, one of the very first friends that I made there was this black girl named Destiny. I mean, I'd had other black friends before and went to school with a few, but you know, there were a lot more black kids at my new school, and I was so excited that one of them was one of my new best friends. I think that I felt like I was like one step closer to my dream of being black. Well, she introduced me to her music, right? Things like TLC, Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men. Up until that point, I had really only listened to my mom's music, which was really great stuff. David Bowie, Queen, The Clash, B-52s. Well, there was Bob Marley. Anyway, so she introduced me to her music and then taught me how to dance to it. I called it black girl dancing. It was moves like the butterfly. Let's see, butterfly goes something like this, right? My body doesn't move quite as smoothly as it used to. And the Tootsie Roll, okay? Tootsie Roll. And then, oh, shoop, right? Salt and pepper shoop. So I was like, shoop, shoop, shoop. Hey, you know, that kind of reminds me of that dance from Hairspray, right? Shoop, shoop, shoop. I'm not racist. At least, I don't think I am. Okay, so a few years ago I decided to go to grad school. And I mean, a huge factor in wanting to go was I wanted to learn how to make powerful and political theater that could maybe change the world. Well, you can imagine how excited I was when I found out that in the first couple of weeks of my very first semester, I was going to get to participate in a Theater of the Oppressed workshop. Now, Theater of the Oppressed, it comes from a perspective of everybody is oppressed somehow, which I totally believe. So we spent the whole weekend investigating all of these levels of oppression and our own experiences of being oppressed. It was intense. I mean, people got emotional, people got angry. This one guy even stormed out and never came back. Felt like he was a little bit over dramatic though. I mean, we were all here to have this experience and to learn. He just needed to chill. At the end of the weekend, we circled up and had like a little debrief, and I was feeling full of compassion and awareness, and I was so ready to go forth and be a social justice warrior. Well, that didn't really last for long, because people started to get upset again. And a few people even started to attack the facilitators, and then all of a sudden this guy just starts yelling, "You get to leave! You came here and you made us dig up all this shit, and now you just get to leave and don't even help us deal with it? Yeah, everything we go through every fucking day isn't gonna get healed by this shit. Fuck this!" I felt really uncomfortable.
If they want our help, they should be nicer and more respectful.
It's probably a good time to mention that this person and most of the people that got so upset during that workshop were people of color, and some of the only people of color in the room. I was uncomfortable because of how they needed to express themselves. Ironically, that same kind of expression that I admired when I wanted to be black.
My experience as a white person is drastically different than that of a person of color.
I have no idea what it's like to not be white. I mean, I've only lived my life in my skin. I'm seen as white, and so people treat me however they're going to treat a white person. I mean, okay, yeah, when I was dyeing my hair, I could pass as Latina, but I mean, there are a lot of Latinx folks that can pass as white. And you've heard the term white passing? So, you know, sometimes they are treated like they're white, and sometimes they aren't. I've even been told that sometimes they get treated as too white by one part of their community and not white enough by the other. I can't even imagine what that must be like to navigate that kind of biracial experience. And so many of us have to now. I mean, and not just white and, right? Any combination of races. We're a melting pot. I'm actually 1/16 Native American. I know, it's not a lot, but it is enough to sometimes matter. But you probably don't see that when you see me. You probably just see me as white. So I am. As a white person, I haven't had to struggle the way most people of color have. Well, at least not because of my skin color. Now, being a woman, that's a whole other show. Something else that I've really come to understand is that we all speak from the I, right? Our own individual perception, or at least we should. And yet we all share an external reality. I mean, that's heavy and fucking hard to hold in your awareness. You know that all of our perceptions, no matter how opposing they may be, exist at the same time, sometimes in the same space. It's fucking wild, right? Like you externally are here with us, with we, right? And yet you, we, I am having my own unique individual experience, completely exclusive to me. I mean, it's crazy, and maybe you've already had that revelation, but I'm like in my 30s and I'm only just having it now, so. I think that I had to learn how to listen to get there. And I mean really listen, like without any intention to respond. Listen to just absorb and process and understand that the other experience is just as authentic as my own. It's just theirs. But listening takes practice.
While shopping in Portland one day, I came across a street full of shops where almost every window sported a hashtag Black Lives Matter poster. I popped into one of these boutiques, and I, a black woman, was followed around the store persistently by an employee, while 3 white girls in the store with me shopped undisturbed. I was asked 3 times in the span of 5 minutes if I needed help, and I said no each time. I even started walking erratically to make sure it wasn't in my head. When I finally decided to leave, the employee almost followed me out of the door because my decision was so abrupt.
I've been a tutor through the Sunnyside District, Tucson Unified School District, and the Bawakiri School District, Unified School District out in Sells, Arizona. And it's an hour drive west, so there's a commuter bus that takes us out there whenever we do work, which is awesome. But there's no checkpoint when you go in. There's only a checkpoint when you come back into Tucson. And more than often, I'd like to say always, but I'm pretty sure there was like maybe one time, They didn't stop us, but we were always stopped on the way back. Always stopped. There's a bus full of white people and 3 Mexicans on the bus. Every single time we drove back, they pulled us over and they ID'd us. And then they doubled ID'd us. And then they asked us to get off the bus and do a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, like they just were making sure our paperwork was fine. But they did this every single time. Maybe not one time, but almost every single time. And it's like, dude, you did this not even a day and a half ago. You don't remember my beard? You don't remember my face? Like, are you kidding me? So at that point, it was blatant. They saw a brown person and they were allowed to discriminate because the law let them. But that wasn't even the only time. Anytime I rode back with a white teacher, anytime I rode back with any of my white friends, man, we would get pulled over and I would be the only one to get ID'd because I look like this. I laugh at it now.
I think the thing that has affected me most in my life was definitely my search to go to college and just the obstacles that I was faced with because of my race. I saw our school counselor who was helping everybody with their college application pay super close attention to all the white students in my school. But when it came to me, she never even bothered asking me if I needed help. When I went to her, she was very short and kind of dismissive. And mind you, I was in the top 10 percentile of my high school class. I had a 4.3 GPA. There were opportunities for me out there. There were grants, there were scholarships, there were so many things that could have been made readily available to me that I didn't even know existed because of the color of my skin. I think in a small West Texas town where you're the, minority, you're not really paid attention to. And as a result of that, the reason I say that it has such a great effect in my life is because I'm now having to pay off all the student loans that I took out to be able to go to college. If she had taken the time to help me, to see value in me, she'd just been able to see me. She'd been able to see me for who I was, not the color of my skin. I think I would be in a much different position now. I wouldn't have to be paying off these student loans. I would have probably gotten a full ride to any college of my choice. But that's why I'm a teacher now. That's why I try and help my students to get those opportunities and find those grants, those scholarships, so that they don't have to go through what I have to go through now. I didn't have the help that I deserved. And I fully believe that's because of the color of my skin.
Systemic racism is very real and needs to be ended.
Listening isn't always easy. And sometimes we don't get it right. But we have to be able to connect and learn how to appreciate everyone, even if they're different, and because they're different. I have facilitated the advancement of racism by ignoring it, by not calling it out when I see it, by not actively addressing it in my own behavior. I choose to be better. I choose to work every day. And any day that I don't actively attempt to be the change that I want to see, I support systems that keep us all down.
put my safety, health, and freedom on the line to fight for people of color. I will let them lead and not try to be at the center.
Not try to be at the center. Okay, this is a show about me, and I'm white, so I literally just put myself at the center. It's not lost on me. I am aware that I could be drawing attention right now from a voice that needs to be heard, and I just really hope I'm not. I needed to share my journey. It's not easy to put yourself under a microscope and see all the flaws. But until I accepted that those flaws were real, I couldn't make any real effort to correct them. I mean, the good news is it's never too late to start. I have made a promise to myself to continue to increase my own awareness around myself and around others. And I invite you all to do the same. I mean, it's true what they say. Until we are all equal, none of us are equal. To acknowledge that we have all shared this experience, right, externally, my show, and yet we all had our own individual experience of the show. And if you are willing, maybe take a look around and just see all the differences in the space right now and honor all of that individuality. I have so much gratitude for you all for choosing to be in the room. And I would love to take a moment for any other Fringe shows to announce themselves if they're interested.
I Killed the Cow. Excuse me. Performing in the Secret Chapel back on Thursday. We'll be there.
Where I'm from, the mountains are red, white, and yellow. Performing in the parlor tomorrow, 8:15, 2 for 1.
Their band was back on Thursday at Galvanize, Space on Fallback.
Awesome, thank you all again so much.